She had a queue, a line of people waiting at her table, and she hadn't even finished unpacking yet. Pauline spent 20 years running a nail salon in a tiny village in Wales. She never thought of herself as an artist, and here she was at a Christmas fair watching people line up for cards, mugs, tea towels, and tote bags covered in her own designs. All of it grew from one thing, a simple doodle of her village. So, how does that actually happen? And how does one small drawing become a whole table of products people are lining up to buy? That's what I'm walking you through today. 3 truths about turning one simple doodle into real products you can hold, gift, or sell. Why your doodle is only ever the starting point. The one skill that actually turns it into a product, and how a single design can become a whole shelf of real things. Stick with me, because by the end, you'll see your own sketchbook completely differently. Welcome to the Creative Business Spark podcast. I'm Anne LaFollette. After getting laid off in my late 50s, I found myself adrift with no income and no sense of self. But my mom always said, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep moving forward. So I decided to reinvent myself and build an online creative business from scratch. Now I help women like you do the same. Let's dive in, because it's never too late to create. Welcome to this week's Creative Business Spark podcast. I'm so glad you're here. Let me pick that story back up, because I want to tell you what happened with Pauline and what it means for you and your doodles. Pauline spent 20 years running a salon that did both nails and hair in North Wales. She never thought of herself as an artist, not with a little a, and certainly not with a capital A. And there was a reason for that. Somewhere back in school, a teacher told her that she had no talent, and she believed it. She set art down and she walked away from it completely for decades. Then she found me and decided to try one thing, my Doodles coaching week. And she learned how to turn her doodles into repeating patterns. She made one design. She called it H is for Harden, after her own village. It was filled with the landmarks she'd walked past her whole life. The little church, the castle, the shops on the corner. She put that one design on greeting cards, on mugs, on tea towels, and on tote bags. And she took them to a one-day Christmas fair at her village post office. And here's the part that gets me every time. She had a queue before she'd even finished unpacking her table. One doodle, real products, a line out the door, from a woman who was once told she had none of this in her. So if you've ever looked at your own doodles and thought they were too simple to ever become something real, I want you to stay with me, because I've got 3 truths for you today about how one small doodle becomes a finished product you can hold, gift, or sell. Truth number 1, your doodle is the seed, not the product. Here's where we get it backwards. We look at a simple little doodle, a wonky flower, a lopsided leaf, a little house, and we think, that's not a product. That's barely a drawing. And because it doesn't look like the finished thing, we decide it's not worth pursuing. But the doodle is not the product. The doodle is the seed. Think about it this way. A single seed doesn't look like a garden. It's small, it's plain. If you'd never seen one grow, you might not believe the whole flowering thing could come out of it. But a gardener isn't fooled by the size of the seed. She knows what it can become. Your doodle is small on purpose. The simplicity isn't the problem. The simplicity is the starting point. Truth number 2, the magic is in the repeat, not the drawing. So if the doodle is just the seed, what actually grows it into a product? The repeat. Now here's the thing almost nobody understands until they see it happen. What turns a simple drawing into a real sellable product is not artistic perfection. It's the process of taking that one little element and making it repeat seamlessly so it can print across a whole tea towel or a whole bolt of fabric or an entire roll of wrapping paper. And that is a learnable skill. It's a specific set of steps inside Adobe Illustrator. And once you know them, you can use them on any doodle you ever draw. Let me tell you about Judy. Judy is a seamstress in New Hampshire, and she did not open Adobe Illustrator for the very first time until she was 59 years old. She'd sewn her whole life, but surface pattern design, that was brand new. She learned the process, and then she designed one custom rose pattern. That single design became children's dresses for a local flower farmer, sewn from fabric printed with Judy's own art. And that same rose went onto tea towels and greeting cards she now sells in local stores. Judy didn't become a more talented artist. She learned the steps, and the steps did the rest. So hear me on this. You do not have to become a different, more talented person to make real products. You just need to learn what to do with the doodles that you already have. Truth number 3, one design can become a whole shelf of real things. And this is where it gets fun. Once a design is digital and it repeats seamlessly, it's no longer limited by your hands or your time. That one doodle can go on almost anything. Let me tell you about Sherry. Sherry spent decades in the corporate world, and she's a lifelong photographer. When she learned surface pattern design, she started turning her own photos into repeating patterns. Poppies she'd grown from seeds, roses from her own garden. And then she put them everywhere. Tote bags, garden flags, jewelry. In under a year, she had a whole shop full of products, all built from her own designs. One creative starting point, a whole shelf of real things. This is the part of surface pattern design we almost never talk about. We get so focused on, I can't draw, I'm not a trained artist, that we forget what happens after. Because once you have a design you love, it can live on a mug, a tea towel, a card, a tote bag, a length of fabric. The same design, working for you in dozens of places at once. Pauline's village doodle became cards and mugs and tea towels and tote bags. Judy's rose became dresses and towels and cards. Sherry's poppies became bags and flags. None of them started with a masterpiece. They started with one simple thing, and they learned how to let it multiply. So let's bring this home. 3 truths. Your doodle is the seed, not the product. The magic is in the repeat, not the drawing. And one design can become a whole shelf of real products. And notice what none of those truths asked of you. Not one of them required you to already be talented. Not one of them required a portfolio or a degree or years of practice. They asked only that you have one simple doodle and a willingness to learn what happens next. So imagine it for a second. A tea towel in your kitchen with your design on it. A card you hand to a friend that you made. A tote bag someone stops you on the street to ask about. Not someday when you're finally good enough, but this year. Starting with a doodle you could draw tonight. That is exactly what my Doodles coaching week is for. It's a week and a half where I walk you through the whole process of turning a simple doodle into your very first repeating pattern. From scratch. No experience needed. It's the same starting point Pauline had, and Judy had, and Sherry had. And right now, the early bird price for the fall cohort is available. If something stirred in you while you were listening today, even a small something, I would love for you to come join us. You can save your spot at members.artwithann.com/doodles. I'll put that on screen. And if you're listening, you can just type it in to your browser. members.artwithann.com/doodles. Because a shelf full of real beautiful products doesn't start with talent. It starts with one small drawing and the decision to see what it could become. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. If you're listening, please share today's episode with a friend and follow the show on your favorite podcast player. I always like to say in closing that I am Ann LaFollette. And remember, it's never too late to create. That's it for today, and I'll see you again next week.